Sports Talk Chicago, here with Jon Zaghloul. Appreciate everybody tuning in. All of our great affiliates across Illinois and Indiana. 105.5 The Ticket, WKAN, HCTV, Cities 92.9 Talk FM, WJOB, and Judd TV. Remember, if you miss any of today's program, podcast it at sportstalkchicago.com or any major podcast platform. Follow us all over at Sports Talk Chicago on social media. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel 18,000 plus strong at Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube. Like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Got John Meadows in the building, directing and producing. I'm Jon Zaghloul, hosting today's show. Heavy Bears in the first segment. But believe it or not, they may not have been the biggest story of the week. You heard my passion for Matt Eberflus and this report that came out. But I'll tell you what, there's been a bigger story that has encapsulated not just Chicago sports, but the national sports scene. We are going to talk about it because I love what the Cubs did in hiring Craig Counsell. And the story behind it is the best part of it all. The story behind it is it just makes me feel so good and so vindicated as well. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. But essentially, the Cubs went out and they hired away the Milwaukee Brewers manager, Craig Counsell, former MLB player, 2001 World Series champion with the Diamondbacks, played for the Brewers for a long time and then managed them for a while. They hired Craig Counsell for a 5-year contract worth $40 million. He's going to be the richest manager in baseball history, $8 million per year. Craig Counsell, and any manager for that matter, has never made that much money before in a season. This is baseball history the Cubs have made. They essentially paid him. He's probably made more money as a manager now than a player. Not kidding, because Counsell was a utility guy, 1-year, 2-year deal type guy. He wasn't getting 5-year deals for $40 million at that time. He's making more money as a manager than he is as a player. Good for him. The fact is, though, the Cubs hired him away. The Cubs hired him away and took him from Milwaukee. Now, in the process of doing this, as everybody freaked out and was so excited, they wondered, wait a minute, what's happening to their current manager? What's happening to David Ross? What's going to happen to him? Well, turns out, according to Jed Hoyer, Cubs president of baseball ops, he had to fly down to Florida and fire David Ross in person. He flew down to Florida and said, Rossi, you're out. Here's what Hoyer said, quote, "This is no knock on Rossi," lie, but we'll talk about that, who I think incredibly highly of, but Craig is at the very top of the game. It's hard to rank managers, but he's at the top of the game. Thank you, Jed Hoyer. Correct. When asked about the severity of the decision and how hard it was for him to do this, Hoyer said, "It felt like an exceptionally hard decision, but one that I felt like I had to make if the opportunity was there. My job is to figure out how to win as many games as we can in the short term and the long term. And there was nothing about this move that I felt like didn't meet that criteria." That is the quote of the year for Chicago sports executives. The quote of the year, quote of the century. My job, his job, is to figure out how to win as many games as possible in the short term and the long term. That's his job. That's what every executive's job is. In football, in baseball, basketball, all of it. For some reason, only one franchise understands that responsibility and that need. The Cubs get it. Jed Hoyer gets it. So I have a couple of things I want to really discuss about this news. Now, Craig Counsell, of course, is a quality Major League Baseball manager. He's going to do great here. The Brewers have never had any resources whatsoever. I don't even know how they won games, frankly, because they've always sucked, but they have. Counsell, in his first year, 2015, and then 2016, his first full season, were under 500. Ever since then, they've been over, with the exception of the COVID season. This past year, they won 92 games. It's a great deal. It's a great opportunity. Counsell said, "I needed a new challenge." I'm sure he did. The new deal doubled his salary, too. So the Cubs get rid of a World Series hero. And here's what's funny. I want to make sure I actually get this right. Saw a couple of Cubs writers discuss this, and they're writing about this because they're all Cubs loyalists, right? So they don't want to make the Cubs look in a bad light or, have them not look good, right? So get this, okay? This is a writer from The Athletic. I want to read this out loud because it's the funniest thing that I saw on Twitter the past couple of days. He said this. This is from his article. The Cubs' way reappeared in a cold-blooded move that left David Ross out of a dream job and made Craig Counsell $40 million richer. The talk of culture and family is mostly empty rhetoric. It's not that different here. The manager needs better players. Hold on a minute. Cold-blooded? Out of a dream job? Do you understand that David Ross was given this role out of patronage and favoritism, and that's it? David Ross is not a qualified manager. Okay, that's a fact. And based on the way he managed this team, that's also a fact. You're going to tell me the Cubs need better players? 3 of their guys won Gold Gloves this year. They made all-star teams. This team was great. They had a good enough roster to make the playoffs. They only won 83 games, blew it in September. Went 11-17 in September, gone. They missed the playoffs. And you're going to tell me, oh, it's because of the players. The players did it to him. And David Ross is now out of a dream job. And it was a cold-blooded move. Why does Jed Hoyer always get the crap? Why does nobody ever crap on Theo Epstein for leaving the Cubs in this situation? I always wonder why Theo gets a pass and Jed doesn't. You know, Jed won the World Series with Theo, too. Jed was, part of that front office. Why is it Theo that gets the credit when he left in 2020 and this team was in shambles? Jed had to make the decisions to get rid of Javi Baez. Turned out to be a great move. Get rid of Chris Bryant. Excellent move. Anthony Rizzo, even better move. He got rid of all these guys. They crapped on him. Everybody. What are you doing? You're getting rid of all these stud players. I miss these Cubs guys, and it turned out to be great. Now he gets rid of David Ross, and we still got people out there shilling for, I guess, David Ross? I don't know what they're doing here. You got to be kidding me. This was an outstanding move on Jed Hoyer's part, and we still got detractors and people complaining about this. I don't know what else there could be to complain about here. Why are you not happy or maybe not grateful for this opportunity? The Cubs actually brought in a legitimate manager, not a figurehead who is a beloved hero who they brought in because he is that beloved hero. David Ross is probably never going to manage again. And that's not being mean. It's the truth. He has no offers from anybody else ever since he got fired. Nobody else is willing to take him on. He's not a manager. The decisions that we saw during the season, too, the whole Drew Smiley situation, putting him in the bullpen, starter, bullpen, back and forth, not using guys the best way that they could be used. And that late season collapse, all of that hurt David Ross. Craig Counsell has had nothing ever in Milwaukee. They continually win. They won the division again, winning 92 games this past year. He has nothing and they win. Imagine if he had something. Imagine if he had the resources in terms of payroll and the talent that the Cubs have. Nico Horner, right? Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, pitching. Justin Steele. Kyle Hendricks is coming back. Imagine if the Brewers and Craig Counsell had that sort of talent on their team. Right? Imagine if that was the case. I'm so happy that this occurred. And shame on certain people who are calling this cold-blooded or mean. What about what happened with Rick Renteria and the Cubs when they hired Joe Maddon? I didn't hear anybody say back then cold-blooded. I heard everybody praise Maddon because at the time he was the media darling of baseball. By the way, I read a report on him. Interesting side note. Nobody wants to hire him because he's been critical of analytics. Bullcrap. That's horrible. This guy's a World Series winning manager. You don't want to hire him because he doesn't like analytics? What, because he doesn't believe in war? Good. I don't either. Dumb move. Anyway, the point being, Craig Counsell is a legitimate MLB manager. He knows how to manage because managing isn't, hey, I'm a popular guy, I have name recognition, fun to be around Grandpa Rossi. No. Being a manager is actually making tough decisions, understanding the game well, knowing how to manage personalities and players, and not collapsing and being successful. And Craig Counsell's done that pretty much every year he's been in Milwaukee with little to no talent. David Ross has never done it once. Oh, wait, they won the division in 2020 in the COVID-shortened year. My bad. They went 36-24. Congratulations, you were 8 games over 500 in a 50-game season. That doesn't count. What counts is 2021, last year, and then this year. And you could say, okay, fine, David Ross shouldn't be blamed for the Cubs tanking those past couple of years. So be it. But what about this past season? They were great. They were hot. They had the division lead at one point for a while. They had the wild card lead at one point for a while. A long time. And they finished with 83 wins and collapsed. The Diamondbacks, who had one more win than them, went to the World Series. Cubs didn't even go to October. Didn't even go to the postseason. That's a failure, in case you didn't know. So, cold-blooded. Oh, they talk about culture. This isn't culture. No, you know what? It's called hiring a professional to know what to do. That's what that's called. It's called no more patronage, no more BS, because you know who doesn't stand for that? To his credit, Jed Hoyer. He never has and he never will. And I love that about him. He's my favorite executive in Chicago. He said no more Javi Baez, no more Chris Bryant, no more Anthony Rizzo. Javi Baez, by the way, just opted into the rest of his Detroit Tigers deal. 4 years, $98 million left. You know what he's doing in Detroit? His batting average is under 230 in his first 2 years there. They're paying him $25 million a year to hit 230 and have an OPS under 700. That's who Jed Hoyer got rid of and didn't pay him a penny. And where is everybody today saying, good job, Jed Hoyer? Nowhere to be found. What about Anthony Rizzo? Last year, struggled. What about Chris Bryant? He's played 60 games in a Rockies uniform. They paid him 7 years on $150 million. Jed Hoyer saved this team money and saved this team headaches. And he got crap for it his whole career. Now he gets rid of David Ross, who's not even a manager. He's just some figurehead and some beloved hero-type figure. And we still got people here crapping on him. And we still got people here shilling for the other side. Give me a break. And you writers must be content with mediocrity. Or you must be content with September collapses every single year. Okay, this is not the Cubs of 1969 or 1984 or even 2003. They've won a World Series. They know what it takes to win it all. This is not the Billy Goat cursed Cubs, the lovable losers Cubs. They need to be competitive again. And Jed Hoyer said, I'm going to take matters into my own hands and do it. And we got people still sitting here saying it's a bad move or, oh, that was so mean to do that to David Ross. You guys got to be kidding me. No one's ever going to be happy, I guess. I don't like that at all. My goodness. We got to see that stuff. You know, we all got to be aware and see that stuff. It never even came into my head to say, oh man, wow, Jed Hoyer, you really screwed David Ross. No, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. David Ross was never deserving of the job in the first place, so why does he all of a sudden feel like he's entitled to keep it? Or why do other people think he's entitled to keep the job? He wasn't deserving in the first place. So why should he have to keep it now? And he would have been deserving and he would have felt entitled if they were actually succeeding under him. They weren't. Case closed. There's no other need to say any more about it. I mean, they weren't succeeding under David Ross. That's a fact. You could look at the record, look at the numbers. They weren't doing good. They found somebody who is the best manager on the market. They paid a hefty price to get him. Great. This is exciting. Let's do it. I don't understand, and I don't see why others don't see it. And I think, it's agenda-based media because for whatever reason, people are still so worried about and so concerned about the 2016 World Series stuff. That's over, guys. It's been 7 years, if you could believe that. I was 16 when that happened. It's been a long time. We need to move past that, move into the future, and move into when's the next World Series? Sincerely. I want them to win it again, don't you? We all do. So instead of going the route of, oh, this is so mean to David Ross, and I miss Rossi, and my heart hurts because Rossi's gone, it should be, great, let's damn win it. Let's win it. Let's be men and win. Not, oh, my heart hurts, and I'm going to miss David Ross. David Ross didn't deserve the job in the first place. What did he do, help win a World Series and was the pseudo bench coach to help Anthony Rizzo when he was nervous in Game 7? Give me a break. Come on. It's just so crazy that people are unhappy with this. Come on, guys. You got to be happy about this. This is great news. And Craig Counsell has done his work wonders with that Brewers team, because every year I wonder how they're even going to win, and every year they win. I don't understand. Every year I wonder, how the hell are they going to come through? How are they going to put up victories? How are they going to win this division? And they always do. They always do. They always find ways. Maxes out rosters, wins games. I mean, it's exciting. This is an exciting and a huge move for the Cubs. It's really reminiscent of Joe Maddon in 2015, right? They bring in Maddon, they sign Jon Lester, all of a sudden a year later they win the World Series. Now Counsell comes in. Maybe they're going to sign Ohtani, right? Maybe they're going to sign somebody big, and then watch out. And that's what I'm excited about. So the real gravity of the story is this team could be a World Series contender by next year, which is far and above expectations, certainly more than I expected. This is huge for the Cubs. So instead of complaining and crying and wallowing in the past, let's look towards the future and understand, David Ross is not really a manager. The Cubs hired somebody who is a manager, and they're ready to move forward into the next generation of managerial success, into the next generation of a potential World Series championship. This is awesome. This is cool. We should be celebrating this. Not saying, the culture sucks, and whining about David Ross not being there anymore. Then go be a David Ross fan, just like I tell people here who criticize the Bears for putting in Tyson Bagent. If you love Justin Fields that much, then don't be a Bears fan, be a Justin Fields fan. If you love David Ross that much and you're so hooked up on 2016, then go be a 2016 Cubs fan, go be a David Ross fan and follow him wherever he goes, then don't be a Cubs fan. Then don't follow this team if you're pissed about how things went. It's either you want them to win or you don't. And if you don't want them to win and be mediocre, so be it. But then he's going to get fired anyway for poor performance. So, anyway, congratulations to the Cubs on hiring a legitimate manager, on breaking the internet Monday morning. And I'm excited to see what their future looks like. And I'm excited to cover them next year. I wish spring training was already here. There's going to be a lot to cover next year, potentially a World Series run. And we're going to be here with you.